Please stop tweeting me about Quinn Hughes. Welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche pregame show, live from the Toyota Lounge, powered by your Front Range Toyota dealerships. We've got J. Mike and Rudo coming to you as the Avs on the SEGABABA, taking on the Minnesota Wild. I don't know that Utah was necessarily an easy entry back in, but Minnesota, definitely a proper challenge.
They're going to be well rested. They got to be comfy in Denver last night while the Avs had to grind out a game. We talked about it a lot. Not the easiest way to get back into the schedule here, but no excuses.
None. Look, it's not a necessarily easy way, but it's also an opportunity for the Avs. We talked about that a little bit the other day. We'll get a little bit more into it, but first, we'll check in on the Common Spirit injury report, which should be no change. We'll get confirmation on whether MacKinnon is playing or not in a minute here, but the only real injured guy remains Logan O'Connor for the Colorado Avalanche. Now, every day we all have to try and read the tea leaves of what Jared Bednar says in his presser of, will he play in the regular season, won't he? And Bednar's like, well, we just want him to be ready, and no one knows what that means. So who knows when LOC will be back, but at least the injury list for now is one guy.
How important is it to you for LOC to get to play an extended stretch in the regular season? Like, would you be comfortable injecting him into the lineup if he doesn't play a single regular season game come playoff time?
I think I probably just would. I would like him. I don't think he needs to play like an extended regular season stretch, but I'd love for him to get a couple of games.
I feel like 5.
Yeah.
Just get your legs underneath you.
Right. Get that feel back a little bit before you jump in. But even if it was none, if he came back in the middle of the first round, I would just drop him in. This does matter a little bit what they do at the trade deadline.
True.
If they pick up multiple depth guys and maybe they don't need him back, fine. But if your option is play Logan O'Connor or Yoel Kiviranta, I'm playing Logan O'Connor, man. That's what I'm doing.
That's Olympic bronze medalist Kiviranta.
That's true.
You,
and Logan
pal.
O'Connor will have more goals than he scored in the Olympics 3 games after he returns. So
it does help too that, knock on wood, but based on how things at least are lined up at the moment, if LOC doesn't get to play in the regular season, you're not coming back in Dallas.
Yeah, for sure. You get maybe a more palatable matchup for sure for LOC. Not that the playoffs are easing anybody in, but you're not walking into the Lions' den for sure. Experience the difference compassion makes. Find a Common Spirit location near you and discover a new standard of health and healing by visiting mountain.commonspirit.org. Common Spirit, a healthcare partner of the Denver Broncos. Once the Avs are good and going, which, like, reasonably, this is about as healthy as you can expect to be as an NHL team. And Bednar even talked about it. Some of these guys aren't 100%. They're maybe playing through little nicks and dings and things like that. So
I don't think anybody's 100% at this stage. Maybe a couple of those guys who got to go to Cabo for a week.
Yeah, they should be feeling pretty fresh. But, you know, Colton went into the boards head first once or twice in game 1 back. So it catches up to you quick on that front. For the Avs, it is Mackenzie Blackwood in nets today. No big surprise there on the back-to-back. We can go a little bit out of order here since Blackwood is just the news that we have. Can Blackwood find a way to avoid the slow starts that we've kind of seen from him off of some of these breaks?
It would be ideal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think he was playing really solid hockey before the Olympic break. Mm-hmm. So you feel pretty good about where he was at, but especially just given how many divisional games you have here over the next couple of weeks, like, now is not the time to be giving up light ones and dropping games that you need to put in hand.
Right. And this goes beyond just Blackwood, but I really don't like using this phrase because we end up using it like 30 times a season because the next game is always the biggest game. But when you look at the standings, you look at the Avs in the lead, Minnesota, the team chasing. Avs have game in hand. This is essentially a 4-point matchup. This could swing the standings from either the Avs are ahead of Minnesota by 9 points or Minnesota is within 5 points. So is it the biggest game of the season so far, at least?
To this point, I think it is. I mean, these are quietly just so important to your big picture goal, right? Like, I don't care about setting records or anything like that, being the best regular season team of all time. It's not about it'd be cool. It'd be a nice feather in your cap.
Yeah.
It's about setting yourself up for success in the long run. And if you can just take care of business here, for all intents and purposes, outside of an insane slide, like if you took 3 out of 4 between the 4 games against Minnesota and Dallas over the next 10, you have the division.
Yeah. Agreed. It doesn't have to be the best in the world, but it does have to be good enough. It feels like it might be a lot to ask for the Avs to beat Minnesota on a back-to-back with Minnesota coming off of their break. This is their first game back. Minnesota is not a team that is lacking. They're imperfect, like every team in the NHL, but Kirill Kaprizov is a true superstar on the forward side. They have Quinn Hughes now on the backside. We'll talk about him a little bit more later. Yeah, sure, maybe they need a high-end center or maybe their defense beyond Hughes hasn't been the best, but this is not a team that you never want to call anyone a free win. It's the NHL. Any team can win on any given night, but this isn't a team where you walk into it as the Avs and say they're the absolute favorites.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's a good team. It's funny kind of diving into their lineup today, you mentioning could they use another high-end center? I just kept thinking about all those off-season rumors that had Nelson linked to Minnesota.
Yep.
You flip him rosters in this game, that's a major swing.
Yeah, how different does this look if you're playing against Nelson as opposed to him being a 30-goal scorer for you? That's wildly different universes for the Colorado Avalanche. It's not the case, and this will continue to be a conversation of the top-end centers at the trade deadline. Colorado and Minnesota and probably Dallas are all going to be scrabbling over the same types of guys.
There's going to be like 4 dudes that all 3 of these teams are seemingly going to be in the mix for.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see exactly how it pans out on that front with things. We can jump into the team cards here because the Avs one continues to be the Avs one as always. It hasn't changed a ton this season in any meaningful fashion. They continue to be very, very, very good. That penalty kill continues to slip a little bit. The underlying stats of the penalty kill have been trending in the wrong direction for a long time. That's not saying they're bad. They're very, very good on the PK. But when we talk about getting a guy like LOC back, could help you start moving in the right direction on the penalty kill again. On the Minnesota side, they're bad on the PK. So perhaps a power play opportunity for the Avs. And the other thing Minnesota struggles with is actually scoring goals.
Good power play, though.
Yeah. You look, if you have the discipline problems you had against Utah the other night, you're probably in trouble against a team like Minnesota. They will. I mean,
that's maybe worrisome too, just given you might not have the legs tonight. You did take some sloppy penalties. Like if you are going to look for areas to nitpick from last night, you can't take 6 penalties again in this game.
No, you're in big trouble if you take 6. If you give up a 5-on-3, I'm still really good at 5-on-5, but it's making your life a lot harder if you do things like that.
Kind of feels like just glancing at the numbers, and I mean, you could say this essentially any night, so this isn't groundbreaking or me being incredibly visionary or anything like that, but I think special teams probably the biggest factor along with goaltending tonight. In
SEGABABAs, it usually is.
Yeah.
A thing really that the Avs have struggled with over a significant portion of the season, despite how great they've played. They really do not make their lives easy most nights. whether it be the special teams battle or the big mistake or not scoring first often enough, that 3-goal lead turning into a 1-goal lead because they take their foot off the gas. There's so many of those inflection points this year, and the Avs are good enough that they usually still win anyway. But you keep doing that to yourself. You do that against better teams like a Minnesota. Eventually, it's going to burn you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a numbers game, right? You shrink your averages enough at some point, that's going to come back to burn you.
Yep.
They're so good 5-on-5 that if you don't slip up on the little things, you're going to be borderline unstoppable.
Honestly,
it's a broken record at this point. We've said it so many times. How can this power play get going? But I did feel like it was somewhat encouraging last night.
Oh, yeah.
At least in the two functional power plays we got to see.
They made their lives easier last night, unlike for a large portion of this season. They got the pass to take the third period off after the 5-on-3, which was making their lives less easier. But they got through that, and then the rest of the third period was the easy life for them. So doing more of that, I think, especially down the stretch, we've talked so much about how their schedule is brutal. You have to find those moments, those niches where you can get away with it a little bit. You save those legs, those extra 2 minutes, and you're not going to burn yourself out the way some teams are going to just run out of gas down the stretch.
I'm curious to see how fast the Avs start tonight.
Yeah. You would love for them to get out to an early lead and play from there. That's every night, but especially on a SEGABABA. It's so much harder to play from behind when you know you have the wall coming that you're going to run into when it comes to your legs, and especially doubling down on that. Makar and Taves were not very good yesterday, and you're not expecting a back-to-back to really help them in that regard.
You wouldn't think.
Nelson was somehow fantastic despite the exhaustion of coming back from the gold medal game. I don't think you realistically expect him to pull that out again. Natchez also from the Olympics, though, rested a little bit more. Same with Lecky and Landy. The Avs are going to run out of legs for most of their top 6 guys, especially if MacKinnon is in the lineup, although he should be a little bit fresher. Yeah, you would love for your depth to pick up the slack, but also just get the job done early and then conserve. It's not that complicated of a thing. Look, especially when it comes to a team like Minnesota. I have in our notes, how legit do we actually think Minnesota is? I don't know that I believe that they're a cup contender, at least not at this point before their deadline moves. But they are a team that will wear you down and will grind you out.
Yeah, I don't know if I would put them on the same level as Colorado or even Dallas. I know the standings are what they are at the moment, but they are a team that's certainly good enough to factor into the conversation. And I think they can be a team who does play a role in who ultimately makes the Stanley Cup. It might not be them in the end, but could they be a team that picks off one of these contenders? I do think they're good enough to do that.
For sure.
And you can't overlook them.
I don't want to play Minnesota in the first round. That's why I want the Avs to be the number 1 seed and not have to worry about that. Do I think the Avs can beat Minnesota in the first round? Absolutely. But do you want to go through that war, or do you want to get Utah in the first round?
I mean, 8-2 before the Olympic break, so they were red hot.
They've been very good since the Hughes trade, basically. Obviously, they've had some of those swoons at the same time as the Avs did, but these teams are very good. I don't know if I would go so far as to say that this is a playoff atmosphere matchup just because of the SEGABABA situation and Minnesota coming off of a break. There's some extraneous factors there, but it could get to that state. If this is a close game halfway through, you're going to see these teams probably ratchet up a little bit.
I will say maybe playoff atmosphere is a notch too far, but you know that there's going to be a lot of Minnesota fans because there always are. You got a ton of Midwesterners that live here in Denver. So I do think you get the buzz of the two fan bases going back and forth and trying to show each other up. I also think you get a little bit of added juice from the fact that this will be Landy's first game back in Denver in a couple of months.
That's true.
I imagine they'll do something for Brock Nelson pregame to celebrate the gold medal. So hopefully some factors working in your favor, you know?
They have to give the Minnesota guys the same celebration that won
does he pull a Jack Hughes and bring a Tage Thompson over?
Oof, maybe.
It's the classy thing to do.
You can leave Brock Faber over there and Quinn Hughes over there. They don't need to come celebrate. You can celebrate by beating them, which leads me to a conversation that I'm tired of having that's not the power play, and that is the Cale Makar versus Quinn Hughes conversation. Look, Quinn Hughes has a gold medal at the Olympics in his cabinet now that Cale Makar doesn't. But if you look at pretty much anything else, including the rest of the trophy case, Cale Makar has the edge.
But Quinn Hughes is really good.
Yeah, no, he's not trying to knock him.
I mean, I think you could arguably put him in the generational type conversation. That's how good he is. But he's not an alien. He is from this planet, and that's the difference between these two guys.
Just can't be a Kalian. I get it.
Nobody can is the thing. Like, it's trying to compare basketball players to Nikola Jokic or Michael Jordan or LeBron James. Like, yeah, you're going to lose that comp. And that doesn't mean that Quinn Hughes isn't incredibly good. That's what's so stupid about these types of back and forth.
Yep.
Is, it was Vancouver initially, and now it's transferred over to Minnesota. It's like, you're putting us in a position where we have to talk down on your boy, when if you would just recognize that it's just fine with being the second best defenseman in the league. Yeah. Like, it's okay.
You're allowed to be one of the best, even if you aren't the best. And
I'm just saying, like, 32 out of 32 teams, if it's one or the other,
picking Cale Makar.
It's not a debate.
Yep. No conversation necessary on that one. And
is there something you think that Hughes does better than Cale? That's something that I'd be interested to hear your perspective on.
I think Hughes probably drives play through transition a little bit better.
Yeah.
Especially because of his time in Vancouver, as he didn't have anybody else. It had to be him that drove the puck north. Not that Cale can't do that. He's actually quite good at it too, but the Avs are built to let guys like MacKinnon and Makar do that neutral zone drive. And Makar is elite at those breakout passes and then elite in the offensive zone. He's a better goal scorer than Quinn Hughes, even with some of the frustrations we've had with Cale failing to score or missing the net this year. I think they're probably pretty equal on distributing ability in the offensive zone. But Cale's just a special player that does so many things that no one can do. Like, Quinn Hughes doesn't have that blue line shimmy in the bag. Quinn Hughes doesn't create shooting lanes like the way Cale Makar does. He doesn't get defensemen to back off like the way a Cale Makar does. And he's still great. Everything Quinn Hughes does is 99.99% of people wishes they could be Quinn Hughes. But Cale Makar's better.
The funny thing is, and this isn't a clap back at the chat, but I see one of the comments says, Cale isn't even top 3 in the Norris conversation. He's technically the second leading betting favorite, and it's tooth and nail at the moment. So even in a year where he hasn't been the full Cale Makar, he's still, in my opinion, clear-cut miles above everybody else. And when you look at the success of the team, I think that should factor into it as well. Werenski's a stud, but...
Yeah, is Makar not top 3? He's probably not number 1 right
second.
now, but I think he'd still be in the top 3.
Werenski's the betting favorite. Cale's the second favorite, and then it's what I'm looking at right now. Werenski minus 120, Cale plus 100, Quinn Hughes plus 1,700.
Yeah, I say that's pretty fair.
But that means, with that gap, if Cale gives us 2 weeks of what he's capable of, that's going to flip.
Yeah, right. Yes. Did he have a bad playoff series against us? 100%. Probably one of the worst 10 days of Cale Makar's NHL career.
Yeah.
Comes at a really bad time. He also already has a Conn Smythe. He's performed in the playoffs. Come on.
The one that matters more than anything.
Right. So there are two sides to that. And the other side of it is we talk about Cale Makar being human at times this year, and Cale Makar's version of human is still a top 5 defenseman in the NHL. That's the bar, the floor of Cale Makar is
the
still that
Flores,
good.
he's still probably going to win the award.
Very, very possibly, especially if Columbus misses the playoffs, which they probably will. So,
to me, that should factor in. I know everybody's has different gauges of what should factor into an individual award, and I don't think necessarily that you have to be the best team in the league or anything like that. But if you are truly the best at your position, your team should probably be having success, right?
you would think, unless
You
they're
should be impacting winning.
right. So many bad teams are partially bad because, the players are on them are bad. Even the good ones are maybe not as good as some of the truly elite levels of the NHL. We can move on. I've talked about this for long enough because we have to talk about our other obligatory conversation in the power play. And this one is more interesting because, hey, you went 1 for 3 the other night. Marty Necas on the half wall. Hopefully something they continue to do. Bednar talked about, regardless of what you're doing with MacKinnon, hey, it's something they've talked about. It's something they want to do better. It's something that they're bringing ideas back from this Olympic break. What's it going to take to find sustainable success for the Avs against maybe a weaker penalty kill like Minnesota?
I mean, first things first, I think it takes admitting something is wrong, right?
Yeah.
Which seemingly that has been the case. At least publicly, they're saying the right things. But it's far deeper than just saying we're going to shake it up. We need to actually see a change out there. And I think one of the things that's been consistent for the last couple of years, when this power play is effective, guys are moving. It doesn't get stagnant. And when we start seeing them get passive and stagnant, that's what leads to a lot of the frustration. So I think whether you look at the success of what the Czech team did or even Canada when their power play was looking dangerous over the first 80% of the Olympics, it seemingly caught a case of the Avs late in the process. But I think that was what stood out the most to me about that power play was just how much motion they had and how overwhelming it was. And you have the guys to skate like that. So
it doesn't take, you don't need to circle the zone 7 times.
No.
Just a little bit of cutting through the middle is enough movement to get guys into spaces, create
lanes.
Yeah, exactly. For the record, it looks like the Avs top line will be Landy with MacKinnon and Necas, as MacKinnon is out there for warm-ups and line rushes. So that would make
Makes
a
sense.
second line of Nelson, Nichushkin, and Lehkonen, which is what they were running when Landy was still in the lineup months ago. This is... You would love for this game to be the Nathan MacKinnon show. I'm not necessarily expecting it because we know he's probably still not back to 100%, being sick in Italy, and even with a day off, who knows where the levels are really at. But a fresh leg Nathan MacKinnon matters for a team like the Avs on a SEGABABA.
You want to see something out of him. He can't be a no-show. I don't think he has to be the star of the show, but this is a game where, certainly you would like to see him be on the score sheet. I don't think it needs to be a hat trick, but can you be the guy that establishes the early lead while you do still have your legs? Can you play make for others if not and create something? I mean, this is the type of game where you need your best guys to have really strong moments. I don't think it needs to be 60 minutes of your A game, but
yeah,
I think if you go into this with the expectation of the depth has to carry us again, that doesn't feel like a recipe for success in this type of game to me.
Yeah, I would love to say I believe in the Avs' depth to score every night, but if they did that, they wouldn't be depth, right? That's how that works. So when you drop a guy like Nathan MacKinnon in, the expectation is he has to perform. And you look at last night's game, and this is a perfect example of this. Yes, Parker Kelly got the first goal to get the Avs going. But you look across the Avs' top 6, even without Nathan MacKinnon. Necas, multi-point night. Brock Nelson, game-winning goal. Even someone I really didn't like their game out of yesterday in Nichushkin picked up a point, had a nice win battle on the power play to help get that Necas goal set up. And then you go through the rest of your top 6, and you're pretty happy with them. Even Cale Makar, who did not like the top pair. Primary assist on the Necas goal. You find ways to be effective if you're in the lineup. You need it from Nathan MacKinnon. Like you said, Does he need to pop off? No, but he needs to be productive.
What does your gut say just in terms of his temperament in this one? Do we get Mad Mac?
I think if he is north of 80%, if he's healthy enough to be angry about it, we get Mad Mac. If he's still feeling the effects of the illness and the jet lag, I don't know how much of a Mad Mac we'll see. But what I really, really hope we see more of from MacKinnon bringing back from the Olympics isn't necessarily the anger or whatever, the power play eliteness. Bring that physicality, Mac.
Yeah.
You were blowing dudes up at the Olympics. And if you bring a little bit of that to the Avs top six, teams already don't want to play the Avalanche. And if Nathan MacKinnon runs you over, you really don't want to show up against this team.
That might be the most understated element of his game. When he wants to be physical,
right?
He's
he can.
a force.
He's built like a friggin' truck, so...
That's one of those where for all the jokes, like that's where, his commitment to his body and health, it's where, it factors in.
It does. It matters. I don't know if I would go as far as Nathan MacKinnon does. There's probably a happy balance there, but look, that's what he needs to do to have himself in peak shape. You might as well use it if you got it. So,
you know who's a guy I really want to see more from tonight is Val Nichushkin.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of comments about it in the chat. I'm with you. We need to see more from that guy.
He's got to start doing more effective stuff, both with the puck and just generally.
Dirty stuff in the neutral zone, where he's normally so great.
Yep. You need more there. It's not something that I'm like hyper fixated on or anything, but yeah.
It's unfortunate we don't get to see Russia compete just from a hockey sense. I'm not getting into all that geopolitical stuff outside of it. I just mean from a competitive standpoint, feel for a guy like that, but you are rested.
It's the way the last however long, there's an argument that right now today, Val Nichushkin is your sixth best player in your top six. And Nelson's certainly ahead of him. Obviously, MacKinnon and Necas are ahead of him. Lehkonen has really been having a better season than him.
Yeah.
Landy, you could go back and forth with him on just because of the injuries.
The intangibles of what he means to this team, I think, would even put him above him.
And the expectation going into this season is that Val probably should have been your fourth best in your top six, maybe your third, depending on what you were expecting.
He can be that guy, is the thing.
So you would like to see him get back up to that. I 100% agree on that. J. Mike, we're coming up on puck drop here, so let's bust out the crystal ball. Give me a score. Give me a name. What's going to happen in this game?
Let's go. I do think it'll be back and forth.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 4-3 Avs, and I'm going to try and will it to existence. We get a Val Nichushkin goal.
I like it. I like the vibe. I think it's better for the Avs if it stays a little bit low scoring, so I'll just cut you down to 3-2. I'll take that as a little bit on the lower end. I'm going to ride the hot hand on this one, though. I'll stick with Marty Necas for my goal.
He looked so good last night.
If he scores another power play goal today, I'll start to believe maybe the Avs can fix it. I'll put it that way.
I will say we are on narrative watch. The takes are half-baked at this moment.
That's true.
But if there is another sequence where Marty rips one and Nate's not out there and it looks real good, it becomes a legit conversation of what is actually best for this team.
You put the cookies on the pan. Let me put it in the oven by getting another power play goal.
There we go.
Night, all right. We also have my pre-game picks, which are presented by Bet365, where, of course, things are never ordinary. On a SEGABABA, sometimes I struggle to find the good bets, but the Necas goal is plus 200. You can go there. You do expect a good amount of shots to come both ways, so I took the Blackwood over on saves at 23.5. And if the Avs are going to score a power play point, Makar's probably going to be involved. You can get plus 250 on that one. You can do it all with Bet365. When you do gamble with them, make sure you are 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER today. I don't think there's a ton of pressure on the Avs in this game. Yes, very big game, big standings implications, but it's a SEGABABA. You know you're going to play this team a bunch more times. You're just coming off the break. If I'm the Avs, I'm feeling pretty free here. You won the other night. Is this just a free roll in some ways?
I don't know if it's a free roll, but you needed to split on the back-to-back, and ideally you win at least one of your home games. So, I mean, you have an opportunity, I think, to capitalize on what you should do in these first 3 games back. But like you mentioned earlier, just with the 4-point swing, I mean, this is a situation where if you do take this one, and it might even be stealing one despite being favored, now all of a sudden all of the pressure is on Minnesota in that next game. And I like the context of that far better than going into it with the Avs being like, well, we did drop that last one. Are they going to be able to, pull within 3 points or something like that?
Could get sketchy fast.
Exactly.
Make their life harder, not yours. We're going to wrap up this pregame show. We appreciate all y'all hanging out. Watch along coming your way. And then after that, J-Mike and I will break it all down postgame. We'll see you in a few minutes. This has been the DNVR Avalanche pregame show.
We all silly like the mayor.